I was once in the airport in a layover and I saw someone open their phone and try to text someone, "I miss you," but then she deleted it quickly before actually pressing send. And that subtle 3-second action showed so much more about what she was going through and what she was feeling than if she tried to explain this long, complex internal feeling she felt using dialogue and being very on the nose. And that's what's so beautiful about subtext. It's just the art of saying a lot of things without saying it actually out loud. Hello, my name is Jacob and I'm a senior story analyst with Slated, and I'm excited to talk about something that's often ignored in spec scripts or it's seen as conceptually boring, but it's actually a really exciting way to breathe life into your script in 2 scenes. But achieving subtext through dialogue could be a little difficult because the responsibility of how and why the meaning is implied really rests on the shoulders of the characters we create. So let's take a deeper look at subtext through dialogue and some methods worth considering that can make lines a lot more layered. Subtext in dialogue refers to when a character means something a little different than what they're saying, and the deeper truth could hopefully be understood by anyone who's paying attention. If we just listen to how people talk in real life, rarely do they say exactly what they're feeling or exactly what they're thinking. Even if they're feeling super frustrated or happy or terrified, oftentimes people limit how they speak based on things like social expectations or being sensitive to who they're talking to, or just not really being ready to reveal the exact emotions that they're feeling in the moment. No matter the reason, if we just listen to how people talk, we could see how common it is for people to hold back and not reveal all the emotions that they're feeling. When characters in a script say exactly how they feel and what they think all the time, this is sometimes referred to as being on the nose. It can sometimes make scenes of dialogue feel forced and unrealistic and pull viewers out of the stories because they no longer feel like they're watching real, alive characters and people. Instead, they're just watching living plot devices. Now, a character could speak in subtext for a whole lot of different reasons. As mentioned, maybe they're just not emotionally ready to reveal their truest deep down feelings or intentions, which we see in a lot of dramas.
When you least expect it, nature has cunning ways of finding our weakest spot.
For instance, in Call Me By Your Name, the ending monologue delivered by Elio's father hits hard, as he does all he can to help his child through a recent painful breakup without directly saying, "I know you're in love with him and I'm sorry you broke up with him."
But to make yourself feel nothing, so as not to feel anything. What a waste.
His father knew that addressing his sexuality outright might be too aggressive and not allow him to do the sensitive thing he feels he needs to do in that moment. So he has to use subtext to dance around the issue. In lighter areas of romance, some TV shows like Parks and Recreation also execute this well.
And I look forward to the moments in my day where I get to hang out with the town and talk to the town about stuff. And the town has really nice blonde hair too.
But of course, subtext isn't limited to romance and love. It could be anything a character is dealing with that they don't want to publicize too directly.
I want to meet your employer.
Be careful what you wish for.
Characters could also use subtext to intentionally intimidate whoever they're speaking to. This could be as small as a conniving jab within a more heated argument, or as large as a threat of pain or death. "If you don't do this, I'm gonna kill you" is such a predictable, boring line, but if you imply the idea more subtly, things get a lot more intense. When a character has to translate a threat before understanding it, those words have already made their way into their mind as something presumably innocent before revealing themselves as something really dark and sinister. And that's such an impactful violation of speech and thought. There are many great examples of this in Coen Brothers films.
What's the most you ever lost on a coin toss?
Sir?
The most you ever lost on a coin toss.
Of course, there are many great moments in life and great exchanges and monologues in films where a character does say exactly how they feel. Sometimes things get so intense or terrifying or emotionally unbearable that your character has to blurt something out. And as long as there's purpose and causality behind that moment, then it's completely fine. In other words, if a character is speaking directly, the circumstances of that moment should be such that speaking directly feels necessary or even demanded by what's happening in the scene. And if these emotions were subtly implied throughout using subtext up to this point, then the payoff when the character finally reveals all these emotions shines so much more brighter and is so much more satisfying than if they'd been saying that all along.
It's not your fault.
So subtext is a great tool for improving the emotional intensity of scenes and helping future beats of unfiltered truth hit so much harder. But now, how could you incorporate subtext in a character's dialogue in the most realistic way possible? The first thing you could do is to simply know your character on an incredibly deep level. When writing a first draft, it's easy to get through the whole script with just a general basic understanding of the protagonist and the supporting characters. But oftentimes not knowing the intentions, anxieties, fears, short-term goals, long-term goals of every character in every scene can lead to dialogue that's driven by plot rather than character. Some writers recommend writing notes on each scene of where a character is at internally, what their intentions are, what their fears are, what they're trying to avoid, in all the scenes that they write. And this makes it easier to know how a character would realistically approach the situation at hand based on what they're trying to get out of it. And just imagine if your script is being made into a film or TV show or play or whatever it is, if an actor is given a scene, they're analyzing it, they're wondering why each word and every line was chosen by the writer, what the intentions were. So obviously it's good as a writer to make sure you have those answers so the actor isn't looking for meaning where there is none. Another cool trick if you're interested in encouraging subtext within your dialogue is to simply trim down the dialogue. It's the whole less is more approach. So many scripts I've read rely heavily on dialogue to get the readers through the story, but oftentimes giving your character space to think or respond shortly or not respond at all can open your story to a whole lot of subtext and force you to use diverse tools like action or imagery to communicate meaning. Especially with lines that feel a little bit on the nose, it's always worth questioning whether or not that line could be slimmed down a lot or if silence could even apply a more mysterious or impactful meaning. The new series, White Lotus, is a shining example of how a lot could be said with limited dialogue. In fact, in their pilot episode, it seems nearly every scene is chock full of subtext. And most every character is saying a whole lot despite their fake or socially high-class personas saying something completely different. In this scene, we could see how a sense of entitlement from these two young characters and their choice to make fun of a slightly older woman is heavily implied, not through what they say, but through what they don't say.
Do you two go to school together? What year are you in?
Sophomores.
Though this scene is super simple, it communicates so much about what the characters feel about themselves and other people. Fictional narratives are still seen as a reflection of life. Even non-human characters reflect or offer perspectives to the truest forms of humanity we see in ourselves as viewers. And one of the truest reflections of humanity is that people don't always speak the truth. Instead, just like the most memorable characters out there, we are complex individuals full of internal conflict, fear, intention, and layers that often take a while to reach the external world. And when a character's line showcases the cracks in these layers, with their truest intentions subtly breaking through the armor they wear during a dialogue, things could really get genuine and memorable and captivating and real through subtext. I hope you enjoyed that last video, and if you'd like our team at Slated to review your script, you can check out the link in the description, learn all about Slated's patented 3-reader script analysis, and if you like screenwriting or film finance content like this, don't forget to subscribe. Until next time, happy writing.